The genetic helix floating before her eyes contained the history of every human who had ever lived. Priya Sharma stood in the consortium's ancient archives, watching billions of years of evolution spin slowly in blue light. She had studied alien languages for 15 years. She had learned to read emotions in creatures with no faces. But she could not read the fear spreading through this room. Something was wrong. Around her, Mithrani scientists moved too quickly. Their gray skin had turned pale. Their forearms gestured in patterns she recognized as panic. Security drones descended from the ceiling. Consortium soldiers in heavy armor took positions near every door. A Varani technician she had been talking to minutes ago now refused to meet her eyes. "What happened?" Priya asked, and O1 answered. The doors opened and Dr. Amara Osei entered. The geneticist looked like she had run from the other side of the station. Her dark skin was covered in sweat. Her usually calm eyes were wide with confusion. "They pulled me from my quarters," Amara said. "No explanation. What's going on?" Before Priya could respond, every screen in the chamber turned red. A holographic figure appeared in the center of the room. High Arbiter Seneth, chief geneticist of the consortium, looked down at them with compound eyes that reflected no warmth. "The analysis of human DNA is complete," Seneth announced. Their voice was flat, cold. "What we have discovered cannot be explained." Amara stepped forward. "What did you find?" "Your species contains 73 dormant genetic sequences. Kill switches. They respond to specific triggers. Certain sound frequencies. Chemical compounds. Electromagnetic wavelengths." Seneth paused. "Any of these triggers broadcast across your colonies could kill every human alive within hours." The room went silent. Priya felt her heart stop. She looked at Amara and saw the same shock on her face. "That is impossible," Amara said quietly. "We have confirmed it 7 times," Seneth replied. "Your DNA is a weapon. You are either the victims of an ancient enemy, or you are the weapon itself. Until we understand which, your species must be quarantined." Admiral David Reyes pushed through the guards who had gathered near the humans. His weathered face was hard with controlled anger. "You cannot quarantine an entire species based on theoretical threats." "We can. We will. We must." Seneth's image flickered. The Kreth Collective once engineered kill switches into the populations they conquered. Billions died when those switches were activated. We believe that practice ended with the Kreth. Finding it in your DNA suggests otherwise. "We are not slaves," Reyes said. "Perhaps not. Perhaps you are something worse." Seneth's compound eyes turned toward Amara. "You are a geneticist. You understand what this means. Your species has been designed. The question is, by whom? And for what purpose?" Guards began moving the humans toward the doors. Priya felt hands on her arms, pushing her forward. She saw crew members being separated. Some were crying. Others were shouting questions that no one would answer. Amara did not move. She stood staring at the genetic helix, still spinning in the center of the room. Her eyes moved across the patterns of light. Her lips moved silently, counting something only she could see. "Dr. Osei," a guard said, "you must come with us." "The sequences," Amara whispered. "They follow a pattern." "Now, Dr. Osei, someone designed them, but not randomly." She turned to face Seneth's hologram. "These kill switches are old. Far older than the Kreth. Older than your consortium. They have been in our DNA for at least 200,000 years." Seneth's image flickered with surprise. "That is not possible. The Kreth existed only 40,000 years ago. Then they did not create us." Amara was pulled toward the door, but she kept her eyes on Seneth. "Someone else did. Someone who came before everyone. And if they designed us to die, why are we still alive? Why have these switches never activated?" The question hung in the air as the guards dragged her away. Seneth did not answer. In the corridor, Priya managed to reach Amara's side. "What did you see?" "Every kill switch has a matching sequence nearby," Amara said quickly. "A failsafe. Something that blocks activation. Our bodies have been fighting these triggers for thousands of generations." She looked at Priya with eyes burning with desperate hope. "Someone tried to design a weapon, But our DNA fought back. We evolved countermeasures. We survived. What does that mean for us now? It means we are not weapons. Amara's voice dropped to a whisper. We are survivors. And whatever made us this way wanted us to live. The consortium just does not know it yet. The guards push them into a holding area with the other humans. The door sealed behind them. Through the small window, Priya could see consortium soldiers taking positions outside. They were prisoners now. Admiral Reyes gathered the crew together. His voice was steady despite everything. Stay calm. Stay together. We will get through this. But Priya noticed that Amara had already moved to a terminal in the corner. Her fingers flew across the controls. She was searching for something. What are you doing? Priya asked. Finding answers, Amara replied, before they decide our fate for us. Outside, the station's alarms continued to sound. Somewhere in the vast consortium, leaders were discussing whether humanity should be allowed to exist. And in the quarantine zone, one human geneticist began the work that would change everything. She had 4 days to save her species. The countdown had begun. 72 hours without sleep had turned Amara's eyes red and her hands shaky. But she could not stop. Not when the answer was so close she could almost touch it. The quarantine zone had become her laboratory. While other humans paced, or worried, or tried to contact their families, she sat before a borrowed terminal, mapping the history of human death written in their own blood. Priya placed a cup of tea beside her. You need to rest. I need to understand. Amara pointed at the screen. Look at this. Every kill switch in our DNA has a matching defense. Not designed, evolved. Our immune systems have been treating these triggers as threats for thousands of generations. What does that mean? It means we should be dead, 100 times over. Something has tried to kill us again and again throughout history. And every time we adapted, we survived. Amara leaned back. These are not weapons planted in us. They are scars, battle wounds from wars our ancestors fought without even knowing it. Across the room, Admiral Reyes was speaking with Seneth through a holographic link. His voice was calm but firm. Priya could hear fragments of the conversation. The Council is afraid, Seneth was saying. They have seen what happens when kill switches are activated. Entire species wiped out in hours. They cannot risk that happening to the galaxy. We are not a threat, Reyes replied. Perhaps not intentionally. But the Kreth never told their slaves they were weapons either. Not until they pressed the button. Seneth's 4 arms folded across their chest. The Council will vote in 3 days. The options are quarantine forever, genetic modification to remove the switches, or sterilization. You mean genocide. I mean survival. Ours. The galaxy's. Seneth paused. I do not want this, Admiral, but I cannot stop it alone. The link ended. Reyes stood still for a long moment, then walked to where Amara was working. Tell me you have found something, he said quietly. I have found questions, not answers. Amara pulled up her data. The kill switches are old. 200,000 years at least. Older than modern humans. Older than the Kreth. Older than the consortium itself. Who could have created them? That is what I need to find out. But the consortium's records only go back 50,000 years. Whatever made us predates their entire civilization. A soft chime came from Amara's terminal. A message. No sender identification. She opened it carefully. The text was simple. You are asking the right questions. Meet me in Maintenance Corridor 7. Come alone. Amara looked at Reyes. He shook his head. It could be a trap, he said. It could also be the only help we get. Amara stood. Stay here. If I do not return in an hour, assume the worst. She slipped out through a service hatch the guards had not bothered to seal. The maintenance corridors were dark and filled with the hum of ancient machinery. She walked for 10 minutes before finding Corridor 7 that a small figure waited in the shadows. Insectoid body, large eyes that caught the dim light like jewels. A Varani. Dr. Osei, the creature said, Iam subarbiter kilish. I work under Seneth. Why did you contact me? Because I have seen what you have seen. Kelish stepped forward. The kill switches are not weapons. They are tests. And humans have passed every single one. Amara felt her heart beat faster. How do you know this? The consortium keeps secrets. Deep secrets. There are archives beneath this station that have been sealed for 50,000 years. Records of species that existed before us. Before anyone. Kelish's compound eyes glittered. One species in particular. The architects. They created life throughout the galaxy. Then they vanished. And you think they created humans? I think they created something special. Something designed to survive anything. Kelish handed her a small data chip. This contains access codes to the deep archives. I cannot go alone. I am too junior. But you have clearance as a diplomatic geneticist. Together, we can find the truth. Why are you helping us? Kelish was quiet for a moment. Because I have studied humans for 3 years. I have watched how you treat each other. How you protect the weak. How you keep fighting even when you should surrender. The Varani's voice softened. The consortium calls you dangerous. I call you remarkable. And I do not want to watch another remarkable species be destroyed because we were too afraid to understand them. Amara took the chip. When do we go? Now, before Seneth realizes I have been in contact with you. Kelish turned toward a hidden door. The deep archives are vast. We may not find what we need in time. Then we had better move fast. They disappeared into the darkness together. Behind them, the station hummed with the business of a civilization preparing to decide humanity's fate. In 3 days, the council would vote. In 3 days, humanity would either be saved or destroyed. And somewhere in the ancient records of a forgotten species, the answer waited to be found. Amara prayed they would find it first. The door had not been opened in 50,000 years. Dust fell like gray snow when Kelish entered the access codes. Ancient lights flickered to life, revealing a corridor that stretched into darkness. Amara stepped inside and felt history press against her skin. The deep archives were not a library. They were a graveyard. Each chamber held the genetic records of a dead species. Thousands of them. Tens of thousands. Life forms that had risen, flourished, and vanished before the consortium even existed. So many, Amara whispered. The galaxy is old, Kelish said. We are not the first civilizations. We are not even the 100th. We are simply the ones who survived long enough to forget those who came before. They walked for an hour through corridors lined with glowing containers. Each one held the complete genetic code of a species. Some are familiar shapes. Others were so strange that Amara could not imagine what they had looked like. What happened to them all? She asked. Different things. Some killed themselves. Some were killed by others. Some simply faded away. Kelish stopped at a junction, but a few were erased deliberately. Their records sealed. Their names forbidden. The architects, yes. The consortium fears them even now. Whatever they did, whatever they created, the council decided it was too dangerous to remember. Kelish turned left. This way. The architects section was behind 3 locked doors that required Kelish's highest clearance codes. When the final door opened, Amara gasped. The chamber was vast. Hundreds of genetic helixes floated in the air, each one representing a species the architects had created. And at the center, larger than all the others, was a pattern she recognized, human DNA. They made us, she breathed. They made many species. But yours is different. Kelish approached a control panel and began pulling up records. Look at this. Every architect creation has a simple genetic structure. Clean, efficient, but humans are chaotic, messy, full of redundancies and contradictions. Full of kill switches, Amara added. Yes, and fail-safes. And adaptations layered on top of adaptations. Kelish's compound eyes widened. Dr. Osei, I have studied genetics for 200 years. I have never seen anything like human DNA. It is not designed to be perfect. It is designed to change, to grow, to survive. Amara moved to another terminal. Can you find their final records? What happened to the architects? Why did they disappear? Kelish searched. Minutes passed. Then the Varani found something. A message, audio only, recorded millions of years ago. They played it. The voice that emerged was strange. Neither male nor female. Neither organic nor mechanical. But the words were clear. We have seen the end of all things. Entropy claims everything. Stasti. Galaxies fade. Every civilization we have created has fallen to threats we could not predict. So we have made one final attempt. One species designed not to avoid danger, but to face it. To be vulnerable to everything and yet to survive. They will carry every weakness and learn to overcome each one. They will be tested by the universe itself. And if they survive, they will be strong enough to save what we could not. The recording ended. Amara and Kelish stood in silence. They made us to be tested, Amara said slowly. The kill switches were not weapons. They were challenges. And every time we faced one, we grew stronger. But why? Kelish asked. What were they preparing you for? Before Amara could answer, the lights in the chamber changed. A new presence filled the space. Not physical, not holographic, something older. I can answer that question. The voice came from everywhere and nowhere. I am the Rememberer. I was created by the architects to observe their final experiment. I have watched humanity since before you were human, and I have been waiting for someone to find this place. Amara's voice shook. What are we? What did they make us for? You are survivors, designed to face every threat and adapt. Every disease, every disaster, every danger the universe could throw at you. The kill switches were tests. The fail-safes were your reward for passing them. And you have passed every test for 200,000 years. Then we are safe, Kelish said hopefully. No, the Rememberer's voice turned grave. There is one test remaining. One trigger you have never faced. And someone in the consortium knows about it. Someone who fears what humanity will become if they pass this final test. Who? Amara demanded. An arbiter named Vaughn. They believe humans are too dangerous to exist. They have obtained the final trigger. They plan to use it during the council vote, to prove that humans must be destroyed. Amara felt cold. How do we stop them? You cannot stop the trigger from being used, but you might survive it. Humans have survived everything else. The question is whether you are willing to face one more test. The Rememberer fell silent. Amara looked at Kelish. The young Varani looked terrified. We need to get back, Amara said. We need to warn the others. They ran. Behind them, the deep archives went dark. The secrets of the architects returned to silence, and somewhere on the station, an enemy prepared to end humanity forever. The final test was coming. Ready or not. Chaos had swallowed the quarantine zone by the time Amara returned. Guards shouted orders. Humans were being moved to smaller cells. And Admiral Reyes was gone. Priya grabbed Amara the moment she stepped through the door. They arrested him. 20 minutes ago, someone reported unauthorized access to the deep archives. Where did they take him? I do not know. Seneth came personally. They did not look happy. Amara's mind raced. She had the truth now. She knew what humanity was. But without Reyes, without support, she had no way to share it with anyone who mattered. A holographic screen activated in the center of the room. Seneth appeared. Dr. Osei, I know you accessed the archives. I know what you found. The High Arbiter's voice was tired. You should not have done that. I found the truth, Amara shot back. Humanity is not a weapon. We were created to survive, to adapt. The kill switches were tests, not threats. I know. Amara froze. You know, the consortium has known about the architects for millennia. We have spent thousands of years hunting down their experiments. Species too dangerous to be allowed to exist. Seneth's 4 arms hung limp at their sides. Humanity was supposed to be next. But when we discovered the kill switches, we thought we had an easier solution. Let humans destroy themselves. So you were planning to murder us all along. Not me. Seneth stepped closer to the screen. I have been trying to protect you. I have seen dozens of species fall to fear and prejudice. I did not want to see another. But I am not the only voice in the consortium. Vaughn. Seneth's compound eyes widened. How do you know that name? The Rememberer told me. Vaughn has the final trigger. The one kill switch we have never faced. They plan to use it during the council vote. For a long moment, Seneth said nothing. Then the Arbiter's voice dropped to a whisper. If Vaughn activates that trigger, every human in range will die. Not quickly, not painlessly. Your cells will tear themselves apart from the inside. Then help us stop them. I cannot. Vaughn has support on the council. If I move against them openly, I will be removed. And then no one will protect your people. Seneth paused. But I can do something. I can release Admiral Reyes. And I can tell you where Vaughn is keeping the trigger device. Why are you helping us? Because I am 800 years old, Dr. Osei. I have seen too many species die because we were afraid of what they might become. Seneth's voice hardened. And because I've seen the architect records too. I know what you're meant to be. Humanity is not our enemy. You are our hope. If you survive. The screen flickered and showed a map of the station. A single room was highlighted. Vaughn will be in the broadcast center tomorrow. They plan to transmit the trigger frequency during the council session. You have less than 20 hours. How do we stop a frequency we cannot survive? I do not know. That is your test to pass. Not mine. The screen went dark. Priya moved to Amara's side. What do we do? Before Amara could answer, the Rememberer's voice echoed through the room. Quiet. Private. Only she could hear it. There's a way, it said. The final trigger is a sound frequency. It resonates with human neural tissue. But your bodies have been adapting to similar frequencies for decades through space travel. You have encountered weak versions of it near certain stars. Your DNA is already changing to resist it. Then we can survive it, perhaps, but only if you face it intentionally, not at full strength. A weaker version, controlled, would trigger the adaptation without killing you. You would need to modify the broadcast before Vaughn uses it. Amara understood. We cannot stop the attack, but we can change it, turn their weapon into our vaccine. Yes, but someone will have to be exposed first to prove it works. Someone willing to risk death for the chance to save everyone. The door to the quarantine zone opened. Admiral Reyes walked in, escorted by guards who quickly left. His face was bruised. His uniform was torn, but his eyes were clear. I heard we have a problem, he said. Amara looked at him. At this man who had lost his wife to sickness, he could not fight. At this soldier who had spent his whole life protecting others. We have a chance, she said, but it requires someone to be the first, to face the trigger and trust that they will adapt. Reyes did not hesitate. I will do it. David, if this fails, then humanity dies anyway. At least this way, we go down fighting. He smiled, the tired smile of a man who had made peace with his choices long ago. My wife used to say that courage is not the absence of fear. It is choosing to act despite it. Amara felt tears in her eyes. We need to reach the broadcast center. Modify the signal before Vaughn transmits. Then let us get moving. Reyes turned to the humans gathered in the room. Anyone who can fight with me. Everyone else, stay here and stay safe. 12 humans stepped forward. 13 people to save all of humanity. The odds were terrible, but humans had faced worse and survived. Running through the corridors of an alien station while being hunted was not how Amara had imagined spending her diplomatic mission. Yet here she was, ducking through maintenance hatches and crawling through ventilation shafts, leading a desperate team toward the only chance humanity had. Kellish guided them through paths that avoided security patrols. The young Varani had risked everything to help them. If they failed, Kellish would be executed alongside the humans. The broadcast center is ahead, Kellish whispered. 2 guards. Vaughn should be inside preparing the equipment. Reyes signaled to his team. 3 crew members moved forward silently. They were not soldiers. One was an engineer. Another was a medic. The third was a cook. But they moved with purpose. The guards fell before they could raise an alarm. Amara reached the door first. She pressed her hand against the panel. It did not respond. Locked, she said. Let me try. Kellish approached with a device Seneth had given them. The door hissed open. Inside, the broadcast center glowed with screens and equipment. At the center stood Arbiter Vaughn, a tall Mithrani with pale gray skin and eyes that held nothing but contempt. I wondered when you would come, Vaughn said calmly. The humans who refused to accept their fate. We know what you are planning, Reyes said. We will not let you do this. Vaughn laughed. It was a cold sound. You cannot stop it. The frequency is already loaded. In 3 hours, the council will convene. And when they do, I will demonstrate exactly why your species must be erased. The kill switches are not weapons. Amara stepped forward. We were created by the architects, designed to survive, to adapt. We are not a threat. That is exactly why you must die. Vaughn's voice turned sharp. Do you understand what the architects made? A species that cannot be killed. A species that grows stronger with every challenge. Given enough time, humans will surpass every other race in this galaxy. You will outcompete us, replace us. Your very survival threatens our extinction. We do not want to replace anyone. We want to join you, to work together. Today, perhaps. But what about in 1,000 years? 1,000,000? Vaughn shook their head. I have seen the projections. Human adaptability is beyond anything we have encountered. You are the end of galactic diversity, and I will not allow that. Vaughn pressed a button on the console. Alarm screamed through the station. Security is coming, Vaughn said. You have perhaps 2 minutes before this room is filled with soldiers. And I've already transmitted a preview of the trigger to this sector. Listen, a sound filled the air. Low, barely audible, but Amara felt it in her bones, in her blood, in every cell of her body. Her knees buckled. Around her, every human collapsed. This is only 10% strength, Vaughn explained. Enough to cause pain, not enough to kill. But when I broadcast at full power, every human within range will die screaming. Amara fought through the agony. She crawled toward the console. She had to reach it, had to modify the signal. Reyes was already moving. Somehow, impossibly, he was on his feet. Blood dripped from his nose. His hand shook, but he threw himself at Vaughn. The two struggled. Vaughn was stronger, but Reyes was desperate. He held on just long enough for Amara to reach the controls. The Rememberer, she gasped. Help me. The ancient AI's voice filled her mind. Reduce the frequency modulation by 40%. Extend the wavelength. Make it survivable. Her fingers flew across unfamiliar controls. She did not understand half of what she was doing, but she trusted the Rememberer, trusted that humanity was meant to survive this. Vaughn threw Reyes aside and lunged for Amara. But Kellish intercepted. The small Varani could not match Vaughn's strength. They were tossed aside like paper. Amara pressed the final command. The signal changed, and then Vaughn activated the full broadcast. Sound exploded through the station. Not just this room. Every corridor, every chamber, every space where humans might be hiding. Reyes screamed. Every human screamed. Amara felt her cells burning, felt death reaching for her with cold fingers, and then something else happened. Deep in her DNA, something shifted, something ancient, something the architects had placed there millions of years ago, waiting for this moment. The fail-safe activated. The pain faded. Not completely, but enough. She could breathe. She could think. She could move. Around her, the other humans were recovering too. Slowly, painfully, but alive. Vaughn stared in disbelief. Impossible. The trigger should have killed you. We adapted, Amara said quietly. Like we always do. She stood. Her legs were weak, but steady. You wanted to prove humans are too dangerous to exist, she said. You just proved we are too strong to destroy. Security forces burst through the door. They found Vaughn standing over fallen humans who were somehow getting back up. They found a Varani subarbiter protecting the people they were supposed to fear. They found a situation no one had expected. The Rememberer's voice echoed through the broadcast system. For the first time in 50,000 years, it spoke to the entire consortium. The architect's experiment is complete. Humanity has passed the final test. They are ready. Ready for what? No one yet knew. But humanity had survived again. 1 week changed everything. The council chamber that had once debated humanity's destruction now waited in silence as species from across the galaxy watched. Ambassadors who had called for human extermination sat next to those who had defended them. And at the center of it all stood Dr. Amara Osei, representing a species that had survived the unsurvivable. High Arbiter Seneth called the session to order. We gather today under unusual circumstances, Seneth began. Arbiter Vaughn has been arrested for attempted genocide. The trigger meant to destroy humanity instead prove their resilience. And the Rememberer, silent for 50,000 years, has spoken. The arbiter turned to Amara. Dr. Osei, the council would hear from you. Amara stepped forward. Her body still ached from the trigger. Every human who had been exposed still carried the memory of that pain. But they also carried something new. The final adaptation. The last gift from the architects who had made them. My species came to you seeking friendship, Amara said. We found fear instead. You looked at our DNA and saw weapons. Threats. Dangers that needed to be contained or destroyed. But you missed what we truly are. She activated a holographic display. Human DNA spiraled above the council, beautiful and chaotic. The architects did not make us to be weapons. They made us to survive. Every kill switch in our genetics was a test. Every failsafe was a reward for passing. For 200,000 years, we have faced plagues, disasters, predators, and poisons. We should have died 1,000 times. Instead, we adapted. We grew stronger. The display shifted to show the changes triggered by Vaughn's attack. New patterns in human DNA. New capabilities. When Vaughn attacked us, our bodies did what they have always done. They learned. They changed. They survived. Amara paused. But the architects gave us more than just resilience. They gave us a purpose. The Rememberer's voice filled the chamber. Ancient, patient, kind. The architects knew the universe was dangerous. They created many species to face that danger. Most failed. Humans did not. They passed every test we designed. They survived every threat we created. And now they carry the ability to help others do the same. What does that mean? A council member demanded. Amara answered. The changes in our DNA allow us to sense genetic damage in other life forms. We can identify threats before they become fatal. We can help species adapt to challenges they cannot face alone. She looked around the chamber. The architects made us to be survivors, but they also made us to be healers. Silence fell. Then one ambassador rose. A Varani elder, old even by their standards. You could use these abilities for dominance. You could become the new architects. Control evolution. Control us. We could, Amara admitted. But we choose not to. She turned to face the full council. Humanity has spent our entire existence fighting for survival. Against nature. Against disease. Against each other. We know what it means to struggle. We know what it means to lose. Her voice softened. My daughter died because we could not adapt fast enough to save her. I will not let other species suffer the same fate if we can help. Admiral Reyes stepped forward. His face still bore bruises from his fight with Vaughn, but his eyes were clear and his voice was steady. We are not asking to rule. We are not asking for power. We are asking for partnership. He looked at Seneth. You have spent millennia destroying species you feared. Let's help you save them instead. The council deliberated for 3 hours. When they returned, Seneth delivered the verdict. Humanity is granted full membership in the consortium, not as observers, not as probationary members, but as something new, genetic guardians. The first species created by the architects to be accepted by us. You will work alongside our scientists to protect life throughout the galaxy. Cheers erupted from the human delegation. Priya hugged Amara. Kellish clicked their mandibles in joy. Even Seneth's compound eyes seemed to soften, but Amara did not celebrate. Not yet. She slipped away from the crowds and found a quiet observation deck where she could watch the stars. Priya found her there an hour later. You should be celebrating, Priya said. I will. Soon. Amara watched the distant lights. I was thinking about what comes next. We have survived. We have been accepted. But the real work is just beginning. What do you mean? The architects made us to help others survive. That means facing new challenges, new threats, species that need us and species that fear us. Amara smiled sadly. We will make mistakes. We will fail sometimes. But we will keep trying, because that is what humans do. Yes, that is what we do. The Rememberer's voice echoed one last time, quiet and private, meant only for her. The architect's work is complete. What you do with their gift is yours to choose. Choose well. Amara thought about her daughter, about Admiral Reyes and his wife, about every human who had ever suffered and struggled and died. about every human who had fought to survive against impossible odds. They had not been designed for perfection. They had been designed for persistence, for hope, for the stubborn refusal to surrender no matter how dark things became. "We will choose well," she whispered to the stars. "We are human. We will figure it out." She paused. "We always do." The stars continued to shine. Ancient light from ancient suns, carrying the promise of a future worth fighting for. Humanity had passed its final test. Now their real journey could begin.